Good morning, everybody. It is,
What's going on, everybody?
what day is it? I almost forgot what day it was. Thursday. I had to
Thursday.
look.
Yeah,
Um,
today's gonna be interesting. That's for sure.
yeah,
Because
well,
we're trying.
Trey got called into work tomorrow, so we're not going to have a stream tomorrow. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a half normal show, half an early fun Friday. Um, so we'll talk about a little
No,
bit of crap, and then we'll end it on a
I
good
mean,
note.
I thought what we're gonna do is we're gonna record a regular show right now, and then go back and re-record, and just record a Friday fun show for tomorrow, and I'll just air that tomorrow, if that's okay. So at
No,
least you get at least you get the full shows
I mean, that's
because
fine.
you get because you got a lot of pictures, I got a lot of pictures, and you have
That's
yours
only
about
one story that I sent you. That I would have sent more.
that's okay.
Like
It's all right. Well,
I got a whole arsenal of old pictures, man.
yeah, you do, and boy, I'm having fun cropping. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, and man, thank you for everybody for tuning into yesterday's show. After we recorded, we're up again. We're uploaded on YouTube, also on Facebook as well, and of course, we've got our Instagram. Again, eventually, we're going to figure out how to get all this stuff combined together and make it so much easier for
Yeah.
all of us. Um, finding shorts for these things is kind of fun too. Just going through my phone and trying to find 60 seconds of material that we can use,
Yeah.
and it's a lot of fun. So I'm
Yeah, this has
having a
been fun in
blast.
general. I've been having a good time.
The only thing not fun about this is that 8:30 wake up alarm that goes off. I'm like, huh? Why
Yeah,
am I
see,
up
for
so
me, it's like I
early?
get the boys on the bus at 7, and then it's like instead of just going right back in my bed and going to sleep, I gotta stay up. I'm like,
Oh,
damn,
it's like
I
damn you,
want to
Trey.
sleep in. Um, but yeah, I guess we can start today. I saw an article. What's your opinion on this? Is kind of more of a fit trends topic right here, but
Sorry.
what's your opinion on Ozempic and Mounjaro and all those like the type 2 diabetes drugs that people are using for weight loss right now? What's your opinion on all that?
For a while, I was kind of like, yeah, I don't think that's really for me, because I am overweight. But as I've looked about getting weight loss surgery last year, and the more I realize that I'm not willing to change my diet at all because I like to eat. But at the same time, if Ozempic is a drug, especially for those of us who've got type 2 diabetes, that can help us curve our diet because the shot itself is supposed to keep you from wanting to eat.
Yeah,
And
appetite suppressant.
yeah, so I'm actually all for it. Um, I have not talked to a doctor yet because unfortunately the doctors up here in Ardmore are not that great. And trying to find a good doctor. Like I had a great doctor in Denton, Texas. Dr. Shane Ashford. I mean, shout out to him. He took care of me big time and made sure that I was, getting on my meds and everything else. The one I currently have here in Ardmore, I mean, she's just lazy, 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 lazy. I almost have to go to the ER just to get a prescription sometimes. That's how bad it is. So,
Well, I was reading this article this morning and it was Jillian Michaels. Do you remember Jillian Michaels,
yeah,
the
the fitness
trainer?
girl. Yeah.
Yeah. From The Biggest Loser. She was on Fox News for something, and
Uh,
they were talking about Ozempic. Um, and she just wanted to warn people about the side effects, which you're going to have with any drug. I think the biggest thing with this one is for a lot of people, like you were talking about, especially if you're not kind of willing to change your diet along with it. Like there's a lot of people who kind of like just use it and then eat exactly the same way, and then they're saying the drug right now it only has about a 2-year efficacy. So it starts to plateau around a year and a half, and then it's really not going to help you after 2 years. So you have kind of this 2 year span to kind of figure out your diet a little bit and whatnot. And if you don't, a majority of people gain all their weight back plus some.
Mm. But
Uh,
but here's the thing though. If you do something for, let's say, a month, right, and you make it a ritual, and then it becomes who you are. I mean, you get in those rituals of this is what I mean. This is what I'm doing. This. So, and like in the case of a weight loss diet, right? You always hear about these are the certain diets you have to go to. Keto is a big part of that as well. You can also do that as well. I know my in-laws are both doing the keto diet after they already had the weight loss surgery. And a good friend of mine from high school, he did keto without the weight loss surgery and lost 150 pounds. And
I like keto, but for it's harder for me because I don't have a gallbladder,
all
and
right.
you have to eat a lot of fat, and because I have a don't have a gallbladder to help process that fat, it's not a good time.
Well,
Um,
I know my friend posted on Facebook a long time ago saying, now that I've been on keto, I have a love affair with bacon right now. Like he'll wake up, cook a bunch of bacon, and just snack on it all day. So but then again, if that helps curve his diet for other things that he'd be going after. That's one thing. My problem with a lot of diets is that they say, "Oh, you got to eat some almonds and walnuts and this and that." I'm like, "Well, I'm allergic to those," so I have to kind of curve those out. So then, what is my protein source at that point? Because those are not normally good protein deals, but eggs and bacon, that kind of stuff is really good for you. Is when it comes to how you cook the egg, actually. And but like I said, there's a lot that I'm not very disciplined enough to want to you know do all that stuff. I want to eat what I want to eat, but if it helps you curb your diet a little bit and kind of makes you doesn't want to eat as much, maybe at that point you start to you know pre-plan a lot of meals for you to have for down the road, and maybe that's where if the shot can help you with that, that's one thing. I mean, because like I said, there's a lot of people like me who my biggest fear is I have the surgery, and one thing I hate more than anything is throwing up. I hate that, and I mean, I can never tell you a good time I ever had where I threw up and says, I'm cool with that. I remember going out to Amarillo, trying the big ass steak out there at the Big Texan, and getting me and Caleb one out there. He ate a third of the steak, most of the sides, had 2 beers, and he was fine. I ate half the steak, all my sides, and threw up. And trust me, I was miserable for the next 5 hours. So not a lot of fun because there's a part of that when you're regurgitating like that, you
mhm.
feel like your life. You feel like you're losing a part of your life when you do that. Like part of your life force going bye, and I'm like, I
Well,
hate that.
and I'm a foodie, so I remember being pregnant with the twins, and Marcus was on this like cooking shtick where he was like googling recipes and trying stuff out in the kitchen and making all this stuff, and I was getting so mad because the twins made me so sick. Like I'm talking sick. Like
Yeah.
me and the toilet were besties. And I didn't gain. Now, this is twins. The average weight gain for twins is close to 50 pounds. I didn't gain any weight with the twins until I was almost 5 months pregnant. I
Oh
finally gained
no.
my first 2 pounds. Total, I only gained 30 pounds with them. And I was actually 15 pounds lighter than my pre pregnancy weight within a week of having them
Mm.
because I had lost so much weight from throwing up so much. He had to take me to the ER twice to get fluids um, because I was dehydrated. I couldn't. They gave me nausea meds. I couldn't get. I would throw up the nausea meds. Like it was absolutely awful. But I remember this one specific time he made. I love fish. Like I love all fish, and he made salmon, and he made it with this homemade like garlic butter Alfredo sauce that he had made over the stove with like heavy cream, garlic, parsley, like all this stuff. And it was the most delicious thing I'd ever eaten. I got about 5 bites into it and spent the rest of the day throwing up and was never able to eat it.
Mm.
I
Hasn't
have
cooked it
never
since.
been so mad throwing up in my life. Like, I was so upset. I was like, this is so delicious. Sucks. You guys better be cute. Like, I was like yelling at my stomach. And they did turn out cute. But
Right.
I was so mad in that moment. That was some of the best fish I've ever eaten.
I remember when my wife and I first met each other, we used to go to Kobe Steakhouse out in Addison, Texas all the time. So one of those hibachi places. And love their. I mean, they've since COVID hit, they've since closed, and they were around since I was born. I mean, they were always like a sure thing to be there. And you go there and you get their. I mean, they had some of this. What was it? Chicken and shrimp and lobster sauce. Oh, I'm sorry, chicken and shrimp and wine sauce. This white wine sauce, so good. Well, during Dakota's when my daughter Dakota was in the process of being born, we would go there and she would eat and all of a sudden just get really sick and like it turned her off. And it was like trying to find something that would appeal to her. And what really worked was either Slurpees from 7-Eleven or it was um like Starburst or just whatever, just just like a sort of snack or candy, whatever that didn't make her want to get sick. And we would always, and like each pregnancy was different too. I can't remember what Cadence or Cooper's
Hmm.
was, but it was like everyone was differently, and like her eating, her vomiting got better as she had more kids. I don't think she got as sick with Cooper as she did with Cadence or Dakota. And they always say that you can almost tell what kind of kid you if you're a boy or a girl based on how often you either get sick or whatever different patterns you have with that. Don't know if that's true or not, but I know that with
I don't think that's true because mine was 2 boys and I was violently sick.
no. Oh, there you go. I see. Two boys are beating out of you, but no, on it was funny because with Dakota and Cadence, we found out we were going to have ahead of time so we can plan how we're going to set up the rooms and everything else.
Mhm.
And but when we were pregnant with Cooper, we decided not to know at all until Cooper was born. And so we did everything entirely different. And then sure enough, we had a boy, and I was like, "Oh, there you go." So so it's one of those things where everybody's pregnancy is different, really, especially if you have you know more than one kid at different times. Unlike you, where you just had a litter and that was it. So I know, right? So you know that definitely I mean pregnancies will change your food imbalance. Going back to Ozempic, you know I trust me, I know every drug has a side effect. I mean, if you take metformin for diabetes,
Yeah.
you can sit here, like I can sit here straight with you right now, turn to the side, and all of a sudden I got to rush to the bathroom because something in it makes you be diarrhea. Just this is great morning talk, by the way, everybody. Just wake up and say, hey, we're talking about vomit and diarrhea. Welcome to the daily grind, everybody. So,
That's why I said it's more of a fit trends talk on this one, but
right, but it's
I
okay though. I
saw,
mean,
but it was talking about it. I mean, it does have the same side effects as metformin with the nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, stomach pain, but it can also attribute to pancreatitis, changes in vision, issues with your kidneys and gallbladder. Well,
well,
jokes on them because I don't have a gallbladder.
I know my dad had pancreatitis. That was the most brutal thing he's ever had to go through, except for actually dying. But he I remember it was my senior year in high school, and he was in Santa Monica, California. I'm sitting in high school, my senior year. I'm barely passing at all right now. I'm trying to get graduated, everything else. I'm failing my economics class, everything else. And my mom comes up to the school one day and she's like, "Hey, I have to go to California because your dad's in the hospital." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I'll be home alone for how long? It's like, we're not sure yet. So I was home alone for like 2 weeks.
Oh.
And, as a high school student, yeah, party. But, the funny thing was, this is around the same time that WrestleMania 9, going back to my wrestling stuff, was I had tickets to go to Vegas with my dad to go see WrestleMania 9 because that was my spring break. Because, he said, if you don't go to Mexico or whatever for spring break, what do you say? You and I go to Las Vegas to see WrestleMania 9. I'm like, and I've never been to a wrestling show. I'm like, sure. So I'm sitting there, and I mean, clearly I'm concerned about the health of my dad and everything else, and if he's going to make it or not, because I had no idea. But in the back of my mind, I'm sitting there going, am I still going to Las Vegas? I hate to be selfish about this, but I mean, am I still going to go see WrestleMania?
So
So,
can you hurry up and get better? Because we got 8 days.
well, here's what happened though. So he comes home, and he comes home the day I'm supposed to fly out to Las Vegas, which is on a Friday. While they're at the airport, they they exchange my ticket that I had for another ticket on Delta Airlines to fly out there on Saturday. The event's on Sunday. So, but it was just going to be me flying out there. Now I'm 17 years old. There's no reason why we always, as working in the casino, we always say there's no reason why you should have a kid in the casino who's underage, right? Well, why would a 17-year-old kid fly out to Las Vegas, Nevada to be a part of, to be out there by himself? Well, my dad's business partner, Wally Roker, who's a cousin of Al Roker, he worked in the music industry. He was going to be out there with his wife, Merge. So I would stay with them, and so I'll be able to go see the event myself, and then I'll be with two adults at that time. And of course, they were working with Wayne Newton at the time, so I got to go to Wayne Newton's house and meet him and everything else. That was pretty cool. But at the same time, it was like I get to the airport on that Saturday, and I get on the airplane, and I'm sitting next to the mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart, the manager of Hulk Hogan at the time. Hulk Hogan and Brutus Beefcake are in first class. Sergeant Slaughter, a lot of guys I grew up with are right there in the airplane. So I'm like, all right, good trip so far. Nice. And I whipped Jimmy Hart's ass just talking about wrestling to him. I had brought a book on board that I have from my school called Wired, the story about John Belushi. And for those who are familiar with the book, it's a book that was panned by the family, and because it was a Bob Woodward book that was basically talking about all the drugs that Belushi took, not so much the story of John, just all the drugs that he took. And Jimmy Hart saw somebody reading the book. He's like, "Can I see that real quick?" And sure, here you go. And he's like, "I remember him back in he'd come out to Memphis every once in a while to go see him and go see Andy Kaufman and us do our wrestling stuff." I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And then that started at 17 years old kid. I'm talking to a guy I see on TV. I mean, what would you do? So it was a good moment for me. But again, I go to the event, come home. My dad is not feeling better at all, and a day later, my grandfather dies, and he lives in North Carolina. So we pick up, fly out to North Carolina. I still don't have at this point. I have not had a 24-hour day for a while, because you fly out to Vegas, you lose 2 hours. The next day is daylight savings time, and then because it's April 4th, 1993. Then the next day I fly back home, so I gain 2 hours back, or however that works. Then the next day we fly out to North Carolina, so I lose another hour. So I'm living the life of a truck driver at this point. My hours are just fluctuating all over the place. And but then I'm at my grandfather's funeral. My grandfather was 81 years old. He was gonna die. He wasn't doing too well. And I'm sitting there hyped up over what I thought was the greatest experience of my life. Turns out it was WrestleMania 9. Those who are wrestling fans know that's not the greatest WrestleMania in the world. But it's my first ever show. So I'm sitting there wanting to talk about that to people who don't care about wrestling, because they're too busy worried about, "I'm so sorry about your grandfather." I'm like, "Oh, that's okay. He's fine. Guess what I did this weekend?" I mean, it's kind of weird.
It's all right. He had a long life.
So my dad is sitting there dying. He's having the hardest time dealing with this whole thing. So we're at my grandmother's house, and this is the reason why I do not like the woman. She goes up to my dad and hits him right in the stomach where he had all the stuff. It says, "You need to stay for a while." And he damn near doubled over. And I damn near wanted to jump out of the chair and beat the hell out of her, because he has gone through so much hell, and I'm trying to trying to be there for him. I'm like, "Don't hit him. He had surgery." "Oh, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. We've been telling you he had surgery." It's like telling her, "Listen, I can't be in your house because you have cats." Why is that? I'm allergic to cats. When this happened? Since birth.
Always.
But apparently that hasn't crossed over to you. So Oh my goodness, it was not a good time for us. But then to make a long story short, we got back to Dallas. My dad went back to the hospital 3 or 4 different times
Hmm.
while I was still trying to graduate high school. Turns out I did graduate, so that's not a problem there. And thank God to my school mother, I used to call her. Her name was Lucy Murray. I was I was a special ed student because of my head injury, and she would always help me read questions that would make me understand them better. Kind of like Forrest Gump. She make me understand them a lot better than I really could read it. And so she passed away a couple of years ago, and that damn near broke my heart because I remember my mom passing away, my dad passing away, and I was all torn up over. When she died, I was heartbroken completely because this is a wonderful lady who, she took the time to really help, not just educate me, but at least help me move forward. And that's
Hmm.
where, I remember when I went in for my economic exam, she saw me. I walked into the library because that's where content mastery had moved to. And she's like, "Come on, Trey, you and I, we're gonna sit right here. We're gonna graduate right here." And I sat there, and she read the questions off, and then she's like, "Okay, it's one of two answers, A or B." I'm like, "B." Read again. Okay, A. So I mean, it was kind of like that to help me move along, right? So shout out to her and her family. Her family kind of unofficially adopted me because I had stayed close with the family after I graduated high school. So,
Hmm.
but very cool. Once again, I'm all over the place with the story. I know we're talking about Ozempic, and here we are talking about pancreatitis, but you brought the pancreatitis part, so. But yeah, that is nothing funny to laugh at because unlike it because like my dad lost his gallbladder too, and that was about 3 or 4 weeks of just pain that he had never gone through before. But then this also back in 1991 when he had that, 93 when he had pancreatitis, and it was like worse than that. So yeah, side effects do kind of scare me off with the Ozempic thing. But then again, if you're trying to lose weight and be up, curb your appetite, and you got to deal with the diabetes part of that, then that kind of comes with it. I mean, you kind of
Yeah, I
jack
feel
yourself
like
up.
I would, as far as like what I would try, I would probably try like look up some actual. They have like gummy, um, uh, oh my god, I've totally forgot the name of the word. Like appetite suppressant. There you go. I couldn't think of the word. They have like gummies. They have pills. What I would probably try a couple. Like if one didn't sit well with me, maybe try a couple different brands. And then if that none of that worked, then jump to the Ozempic train. Because I'm all for, as someone who has gone through lots of up and down weight, like I have been everywhere from 120 to 230. Like I have been, like up and down and everywhere in between there. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I would say, sometimes all you need to really get the ball rolling is that first like major bit of weight loss, like that first 15 pounds, that first 20 pounds. Like when you start to see it come off, it escalates your drive. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then once it starts to come off, it can be a lot easier to, okay, I'm gonna say no to this because I don't want to put that weight back on. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna not eat this. I'm not gonna buy this so that way it's not even in the house and I don't have the option to eat it. Like little things can start to roll downhill into better decisions, and sometimes you just need that little, that kickstart. So I'm not against it. I would say definitely. Now I know it did cause a little bit of a shortage for people with actual diabetes that needed the medication. That's obviously not good. Maybe find get some knockoff brands or something for the people who don't actually have diabetes. But um, as far as taking a medication to help you with your weight loss, I'm not against it. Um, Everybody's body is different. Some people, what works for one person isn't going to work for another person. Um, Especially like me without a gallbladder is what's going to work for me for weight loss isn't going to be the same as someone who does still have a gallbladder because now my body is operating differently than theirs. So there's so many things that go into it, and so I'm not against it. I would say definitely do your research.
Mm-hmm.
Be ready to drastically change and look at the way, change the way that you look at food, because once you do hit that 2-year plateau, it's going to be completely on you to keep a low, calories in, calories out, like be watching what you eat and be counting those things, because now you're at a really high risk once that medication's not in your system anymore, just to gain all of it back if you haven't made a lot of weight loss. A lot of eating is mental stuff, like especially if
Mm-hmm.
you have any type of eating disorder, emotional eating. You eat when you're stressed, you eat when you're depressed, you eat when you're whatever.
All right.
um, you have to correct, you have that 2 years until you plateau to fix what's up here, you know this correlation here. You got that 2 years to figure it out and get it under control. Otherwise, you're probably going to end up looking worse than you did when you started. And not
Right.
to be harsh about it, but that's just kind of what it's showing. And then they're saying one of the downsides, they call it Ozempic face, where some of these people are losing the weight so quick that it results in like really saggy skin in their face, like their faces are all
All right.
so. But that's
Well, I mean,
that's like a
there's
just
a
being
part of it too
vague.
to where that's true. But here's the thing, though. I mean, like if a lot of it is, you start losing weight, then the best thing to do is start working out. And,
Yeah.
and like incorporate that, because while you're losing weight and the skin is starting to sag, you start to tone up a little bit, then all of a sudden it won't be as bad. You still have this, you'll still have the skid marks and everything else to show that you've lost a lot of weight, but at the same time, you've also toned up enough to where you won't sag as much. My other issue, I've also run into this. Like I remember, I lost 50 pounds with the soda weight loss diet, the SOTA diet, not soda, but SOTA, weight loss
Yeah.
diet. I hear the ads on the ticket in Dallas, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give it a shot. And I lost 50 pounds, but it's such an expensive program to be a part of. You got to pay like $150 a week to stay on their program, and
A
it's
week.
it's oh yeah, it's a lot.
Lord.
And I didn't realize it was gonna be that much. And then I was like, well, I can work a lot of over. It's that whole hindsight. It's like, well, I can work a lot of overtime, and I can make up for it. But then you go work all that overtime, and all of a sudden, you're working your fourth week in a row of day 6, and you're sitting there going, I don't have the energy to do this right now. Plus, you're losing weight in the process because they tell you no more sodas, no more. Which hey, I'm I'm a soda fan, right? So I mean, my this is my son's favorite root beer, Bark root beer. So I mean that's one of my favorites too. So definitely, I just can't give that up. It's one of the it's like cigarettes. I mean, some people can give that up, some people can't. That was a problem I had with it. But like they would have like these little boxes of food that you add water to, and it makes like chili or whatever, and you eat just that, and then you wait 8 hours, and you come back and you eat like a little pancake or whatever, right? And there was like
Mm.
stuff that you can make, but at the same time, it was like you know your system, you're getting your protein, so you're not cramping up like you would. You're getting your nutrients in, but you're also just getting tired and more tired because you feed your system all the stuff to keep yourself going. Although that tires you out eventually. Now you're not eating at all except for those little box foods that you're getting, and you're going. But you lose 50 pounds, and you're sitting there going, "There's a trade off."
Yeah.
But I couldn't stick with it, and I gained the weight back, no problem. And here
Well,
we
that's a
go.
problem with a lot of stuff like that. It is That's why I said you need to fix the actual correlation between here and here, because a lot of the times that's the issue. And um a lot of those diets are so restrictive that it's not realistic and going to actually fix your problem, because the minute that you can't afford it anymore, the minute that you're too tired, the minute that like a lot of people's problem with keto is like you go on vacation and it's like, you know, some restaurants don't allow substitutions and stuff like that, and it's just then you're like, okay, well, I'll just cheat this week while I'm in Cabo. And then it just spirals, right? And then you usually end up gaining more weight than what you lost. So the super restrictive diets typically don't work in the long term.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to really do some digging and find like what works for you. Now, I'm not hating on keto at all because I know quite a few people who it actually works way better for them, especially people who are diabetic. It lowers the blood sugar quite a bit and keeps it pretty stable.
Right.
And I've seen it help with people's eczema and things like that. But I would say just you got to play around. Those of us who struggle with weight loss, it's definitely it's a process. You got to try a few things, see what works for you. And that's why I said I'm not
Yep.
against a thing like Ozempic to give you a head start, or try some other appetites. If your problem is that you just really like to eat and you like to eat a lot, try appetite suppressant gummies or whatever. See how your body reacts to it,
Mm-hmm.
and then kind of go
Yeah.
from there. Because that's really all Ozempic is.
Well,
Is it's a
you know,
diabetes medication that's pumping this thing into you that it lowers your appetite.
CBD stuff has really been helpful to a lot of people too. Whether it's cigarette smoking and this is like a substitute, or if it's to help you sleep, or if it's to help you, curb your diet, like they say. I've tried CBD, not a fan of it. I've tried, there's that willpower that I don't have, that makes me sit there and go, yeah, okay, well, I really don't want to have a hamburger, but boy, sitting over a grill and grilling a couple of burgers right now sounds really good right now. And like sometimes that outweighs what you should be doing. And once again, you're the only person who you hold accountable for is yourself. And when you sit there and go, well, I'm fine with it, no problem, then that's a problem. So, like today, I'm thinking about either making me some spaghetti and like making that to last me 2 or 3 days. But then like it's a matter of me getting up and doing it. So do I want to spend the 25 minutes or so to sit there and cook it up on the stove and do it, or do I just want to sit there and go, yeah, I'll just snack here and there all day and then just be all right. I said once again, it's so hard to know what I'm going to do because it's hard to plan meals, especially when you're me, and like when you have that work schedule where your lunch is at this time and you have your breaks here, and then if you're gonna eat then or whatever else. But then like you walk into one of the rooms and an employee says, "Hey, I got some leftover Panda Express here. You want one?" Sure, but then you still got your other meal you can eat too. You're going, "No, damn it." So
Yo,
then it is what it
dispatch
is.
was the hardest place to ever lose weight because those women would bring in cookies and they'd be like, okay, I'm doing a run to the burger place. Who wants what? Like, I'm doing a run to Sonic. I'm doing a run to Starbucks. Like, and they'd be bringing stuff. There'd be potlucks. You'd walk in there, that someone would have their crock pot sitting on in the middle of the room. Like, it was
Oh, speaking of which, Tony, I'm a mutual friend. You and I both know Tony Clare. He's bringing some chili today up at work. I ain't gonna be there today, but I'm like, oh, you mean he does like the venison chili or whatever. I mean, he does like different flavors with it, and I mean, he lovingly spends that time with that crock pot, cooking that shit up and just making it so good. He brings it in there, and you're going, I don't care what I brought to eat. I'm eating this as well.
yeah,
So but I told her, I said, you need to bring this up here on a Thursday when I'm not gonna be here. So it helped me out a little bit. Then if you have any leftover, just send it my way. But
yeah.
he never has any leftovers, so it's pretty much gone by then.
But
But yeah,
yeah,
most definitely.
but that
Ozempic,
was
once again, I'm gonna get hold of my doctor or one of my doctors or find the doctor, however I'm gonna do it, and start the process. When I do that, I guess we can chronologue how I'm feeling with it, on this show, and just kind of go from the idea. It'd be a fun little experiment to have on this show at least. So I'm losing weight and melting away on camera. Yeah, it'd be fun. It'd
that
be
would be
fun to do.
nice, right?
All right. It's like I'm melting. But yeah, Ozempic. Yeah, if you want to be a sponsor for the Daily Grind, by all means, if you're watching this show, send us a link. We'll definitely push y'all. But And then again, if you're
Speaking
Barker
of,
and
guys,
you want a sponsorship, or
I'm gonna plug this right now. Wherever you're watching us, Facebook, YouTube, you're watching a short, whatever it is, um, make sure to just like this, comment this, share this, go subscribe. It's free. Um, you know, the reason we have to pre-record the episode is because Trey had to pick up a shift tomorrow, and see if we get to a point where we can monetize, then we can do this full time, and you'll never have to miss us. So just hit all that stuff because it's free. It takes 2 seconds to do it. And once, I think you have to hit 1,000 subs to start monetizing, and then that's usually when you start getting ads too. Like people start hitting you up to give ads. So I'm just gonna plug that right now, guys. It's free and it helps.
I was looking at that on YouTube. I think you have to have like 1,000 subscribers. You have to have at least 3 million views. I think you have to show that people are actually watching your stuff. And actually spending time to do that. And then I think time spent watching is also a big part of that as well.
Yeah, like how long they
Offshoots TV
stay
is
on
starting to
the
pick a
video.
lot of ground with that. Yeah, the Offshoots network is really starting to pick up a lot of traction. We went from 75 subscribers 2 months ago to now 93, and we're starting to get. Every day we're growing in like 2 or 3 numbers of subscribers, and people are actually commenting on the actual videos on YouTube, which is actually kind of cool. And they're not being. Some are being dumbasses. They're sitting there going, "God, you guys are just idiots, man. Don't y'all know that wrestling's fake?" Well, yeah, clearly, but we're talking about the stories and everything else. Whereas now we're getting comments like saying, "Yeah, Tony Khan's a real piece of work here." I mean, which is the topic of the episode. So, you know, and again, I would like to have that with this show as well. And I think we'll get there eventually. Once again, we're at seven subscribers on YouTube. The problem with getting a subscriber on YouTube is that person already has to be a YouTuber, or has to already have an account on YouTube, so they can subscribe, because like you can't just be random and subscribe.
Yeah,
You know,
you got to make
you
an
have to kind of
account.
already gone through the
But if
process
you
of
have a
setting up an
Gmail,
actual So
if you have a Gmail email, then you can already make a YouTube account because it's all connected.
yeah, I see all these videos of like these kids who do these little Minecraft things, and all of a sudden they have like 3 million subscribers and are generating tons of money doing whatever that they're doing. Hell, there's this one show that my son Cooper would watch. This little kid would go into these. It would get like a different toy every episode, and he'd play with the toy and everything else. And I can't remember what the name of the show was called, but like the mom was annoying as hell, because her voice was like nails on a chalkboard when she said, "Oh, look at the toy, Ryan! You can do this with the toy." I'm like, dude. And like she's like so overjoyed, and like, and then if the dad joined in, he'd be overjoyed. And I'm going, guys, it's blocks. We're getting excited about blocks. Come on. So, but she's like, "Oh, look at the blocks over here! You can do this, you can do that." I'm like, gosh, she must be annoying to go on a date with. I'm sorry. You're just like, I don't know. They say, "Oh, look, you can order this off the menu." I'm like, "No, bitch, go away."
Oh,
But
so I actually had.
it's not my thing.
It finally came to me. So I had a conversation with Marcus today, and I wanted to get your opinion on it. We were talking about,
Okay.
because we saw some video of some guy, and he had good points, but then how someone sometimes, like, they'll have a good point, but it's like the way they say it. Like if you had worded that a little better, you would have sounded a lot less like a douchebag. But the way you
Guilty.
said it,
Guilty. Yeah.
yeah. um. So he was
Not gonna
talking
lie.
about the guy was talking about Western women today, like especially women in the U.S. And how the value system has kind of gone a different
Okay.
direction, and how they call it like passport bros, where there's all these men that are just going overseas to find like international women because they still have their values and whatever, and how there's no good women in the West anymore. And we were talking about that, and I was like, look, like he has he has sort of a point in the fact that yeah, like there's definitely a um like a group of women now that I don't need no man and da 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 da, and they're very unappreciative of the work that men do, like the jobs that you just don't think about: electricians, plumbers, loggers, miners, railroad, things that you just don't really like think about, but 95% all male dominated stuff. And you could ask any woman, and they don't want to go do that job because those jobs suck, but they pay well and they're needed. But it's mainly male
Mm-hmm.
dominated because women don't want to do it. And I'll be the first to tell you, I'm not gonna go chop down trees. Like, no. Um, but I would say like the pushback on that, and that's why I mean like the way that he worded it, because I'm like, well, you could push back on that too and say that there's a lot of men today that are not the old school man, or the like, if you want me to be the trad wife, well, then you need to be the trad husband, okay? Going, working, making enough money to pay all the bills so I can sit here and prip and prop my hair and take care of the kids and make you 3 meals a day and yada, yada, yada. Well, you got to make enough, especially with the price of groceries right now. You got to make enough for all the food. You got to make enough for me to get my hair and my nails done because that shit ain't cheap. You, if you want the traditional wife, then I need the traditional husband. But with these, like,
Well,
the Andrew Tate, like, red pill guys, they don't want to have the other side of that conversation though.
no,
Like,
no.
so what do you think
Here's the thing
about
though. There's a lot of
like
women on the other
Western
side.
women?
Western, well, I mean, they're hit and miss. That's for sure. Um, I mean, you know, the culture can change. The culture in this country can change anybody's perspective really quick because they find a part of that culture that generated that benefits them in their mind, and then go, well, that could be me. That could be me. I could be this person and that person, but then I'm willing to give up this, and that because that inconveniences me. Whereas you go overseas and you have women who are somewhat suppressed sometimes and are looking for a chance to open up, and then they find a guy from the Western area who sweeps them off their feet, and all of a sudden, let me show you how we do things over here, but they only show them what they want them to see, and then their mind, that's all they know. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of women like that. You know, look, I'm a people person. You and I may not agree with everything, but I'm gonna find a reason to like you because that's how relationships work. And if it gets to the point to where I just don't agree with you at all and think we're just gonna fight, then maybe we'll go our separate ways. But as far as Western women are concerned, once again, I've only dated Western women, so I mean, or in my case, married a girl from. My wife was born in Connecticut, but she was raised in Plano, Texas, most of her life, and so in my mind, she's pretty much a Texan, although she's kind of a Yankee. But my mom was a Yankee. My mom was born in New York City. My dad was born in South Carolina. So I mean, there's always different values you get in different parts of this country already that can help shape in who you are. I don't have any problem. I mean, I don't think I have a hard time getting a passport just to go overseas to vacation. So to go over there to look for a wife would be kind of a bit of a throw for me. I don't think I would go that route. Especially if I'm trying to find the right one. That just sounds a bit too much for me. And hey, look, I'm not an overseas person to begin with. I mean, I like this country enough to where I'll travel each and every state of. I mean, I'm only missing 7 states. I'll travel every state and go into every little town. In fact, our next episode is going to be one of those episodes where we're going to talk about a trip that we took.
Yeah.
So, you know, look,
So
everybody
what do you
likes what
think
they like,
about
right? And everybody's gonna.
what do you think about the red pill men? Like, do you think they're a little full of themselves?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, what is this? The Matrix? I mean, come on. I mean, red pill, blue pill. What the hell? I mean, I saw the Matrix. I didn't understand that movie. Why would I understand a natural person being like that? You know, Look, this is all. It's almost like it's kind of a cult following, really. You know, if you only operating under these certain rules, you can be a part of this club. You know, yeah, Scientology has that too. And I got news for you. I'm not a Scientologist, so good luck with all that. Anything organized like that, I'm totally against. I was brought up with George Carlin, okay, and George Carlin was anti-group, anti-establishment, anti-everything because you know he was not about mind control. He was not about how we're going to change you so you can change everybody else. He's like, fuck that. Pardon my language. But I mean that was him, and he was very much on par with that because you know government tries to mind control you a lot. They, whether you're left or right, those sides will sit there and cater to every one of your needs to make you feel safe and sound with them. And it's just how you look at things. I can look at the left side, I can look at the right side, and go, both sides. I can agree on most of what they talk about. I can disagree with it as well too. And so let's like your wonderful show, The Middle Ground. Let's find that. And whether it's religion that's part of the mind control thing, or whether it's politics, whatever. And people always say the worst thing you ever talk about on the podcast is politics and religion. Here we are. So
That's all we talk
on
about.
I'm just it's always that in sports. I mean, on the thing is that I personally am not, as I know it pisses off Wiley to anything else. He loves the fact that we have to come on here and make me talk or politics, which I don't really talk a lot about it because I'll let you do your thing on it. But I kind of stay to myself with it because I don't particularly belong to any particular type of group, you know. And I'll sit there and I'll ask you questions about Trump. I'll ask you questions about Biden, but not that I'm gonna sit there and you know be okay. I'm bought and paid for. I'm gonna go do that. Yeah, I'm not bought and paid for by anybody, so I'll just sit there and go, okay, nice. And again, you talk about the red pill person or the person that's
The red pill
that of
guys,
that
yeah.
ilk or whatever. Yeah,
It's the
it's not
Andrew
me. I
Tate
mean, I
following. It's
don't get it.
the red pill guys are like the ones who think that if they have a lot of money, then they're a provider, and women. It's the type of guy who thinks that women belong in the kitchen and they should be submissive and they should do what
No,
you want them to do, and they're not supposed to have guy friends, and they're not supposed to have this and that because it's an insult to your ego or what, or it's a bad look for you or something, and that they um
people like that are very threatened. Then they're very threatened by the change that could occur. If you're a good person, if you're a really good person, and the person you're with loves that about you and is willing to, live their life to please you, that's on them. But if you sit there and you're an ass to them and you're making them drive them to another person, and all of a sudden they're going to sit there and go, live the life I want with this guy, or this person's off, as being really cool to me and being very, you know, wondering about how I'm doing as opposed to making me worrying about how he's doing. See, that's the whole thing. Like, if you're with someone, and not that I'm an expert at this because I'm not, but you know, if you ask that person, hey, how you doing today? Are you doing okay? Is there anything I can do to help you out today or whatever else? That's great. And the other person's the same way. That's awesome. But if it's only a one-way street, then you go nowhere with that. Because at that point, it's all about that person, or it's all about you. And relationships are all about the two people, or the group that you're with, or
a
whatever.
partnership.
The all for yeah, all for one. Or whatever it goes. But those people who are like that, I don't get it. I don't think a woman should have to be that way towards a guy. I don't think a guy needs to be that way towards a woman either. There are some women who sit there and they think they're just the best shit they've ever seen. And they're going, and Sam Kinison would always have a joke saying, it's like, you women are such devils because all you have to do is just say, guess what I got? I got the thing you want. Now, come on. And the guy's like, I gotta go. She's got that. No. So, but it's a big world, right? And I don't know. I'm not. I mean, look.
I can understand parts
Going
of
back to
it, and there's
politics.
other parts that I don't understand. Where it's like, I can understand. I can understand the disrespect factor. Like, if your girl's going to a bar all the time, a place where she's going to be obviously getting hit on by dudes and whatnot. Now, there's a trust factor there where you do have to trust that they're going to be okay, but I do also understand the disrespect factor where it's kind of disrespectful to the person that you're with, that you're still putting yourself in that position when you're in a committed relationship. I can understand that. Now, do I think it's okay on occasion? Like, I don't think on, for me, it's like any relationship. I don't think you should be up each other's ass 24/7 because I think that's just, that almost makes
No,
the relationship unhealthy. Um,
very
but I
much
do
so. Yeah.
understand, I understand the respect factor, like not going places with someone of the opposite sex alone and like stuff like that. Like, I understand the respect factor. What I don't agree with is these guys that think like just because they have money they're a catch, or just because they're handsome they're a catch, and they want this trad wife stuff. But it's like, but you're not the traditional. Just because you got a lot of money doesn't mean you're a provider. A provider isn't just the money part.
Sure.
A provider and protector, like a traditional man, is also the man that takes care of his woman. Like, he's going to, obviously provide financially, but then he's going to come home. He's going to make sure she's okay after she's been dealing with the kids and the house and everything else all day long. Um, there's going to be equal representation in the bedroom. There's going to be other stuff. Like, if you look back to like your grandparents' relationship or great grandparents or whatever, that ideal relationship you remember as a kid. Like with my grandpa would come home after a 16-hour day, give my grandma a kiss, eat her dinner, ask us how all of our day was. We'd watch some, as a family, watch some game shows or whatever on the TV. Then he'd go to bed and do the same thing the next day. But he still made that time to make sure he took some time for his wife, took some time for his family, went to bed, got his butt up the next day and went back to work so that he can pay the bills. And yes, for some, it can, I feel bad for some men because I don't think men get the appreciation that they deserve for how hard they work and how great they are. I love men, but I also think it's like, um these red pill dudes kind of forget how much work it is to be the traditional stay-at-home wife. Like, you want me to look good and have the house look good and have the kids taken care of and the meals taken care of and all this stuff, and that stuff costs money and it takes time. And what you would have to pay to have this done without me, like childcare, maid, like personal shopper, like, I don't think you have to have that mutual appreciation if you want that kind of relationship. It's not, you're not the alpha
It's
male just because you make a lot of money.
it's funny when you mention the whole thing about the grandparents and how you view them. Like, I view that very same way about my grandparents, because the part of my grandfather I remember was him post stroke in '82, when his right side had been pretty much deteriorated, and now he's just functioning on his left side. So I don't remember much of him when he was able to walk without a cane and everything else. But then I'd hear the stories years later, after he had passed away, how my dad would say, "Yeah, every once in a while, your grandfather would I just call him my Mac Daddy because his name was Mac and whatever, so he was the Mac Daddy for us." But he said, "Yeah, Mac Daddy would always take me and your uncle Ronnie over to this whorehouse over here, so and so area," and one time like, "What?" And then like saying, "Yeah, we sit there and talk to the girls while he was in there doing this thing." I'm like, "My grandfather did that." And then but then I'm like, but then like I'm sitting there going, "Well, I know who his wife was, so maybe because this is the same woman I couldn't stand." So like, no, I mean, there's that. But at the same time, I'm not saying that he was right to do that, but I'm just saying it was different. It was a different time back then. Like,
You were in it
you
for
know,
the till the end.
yeah, right. So and trust me, when he got sick and he was starting to deteriorate and everything, and she'd sit there and she'd yell at him all the, "Why can't you get up and do anything?" And he's sitting there going, "Bitch, I had a stroke. What do you expect?" I mean, but so this is why I wanted to do the crazy shit that I did, because you just being an ass. But not that that's right, but once again, they had a certain relationship that I'll never understand. Um, but then again, I love my grandfather to death, and in time of knowing my grandmother, I've learned to resent the hell out of her, mainly because of how she treated my cousin Emily. And there's a story I'll get into with her down the road, but definitely she did a lot of bad things towards her, and you know I can't forgive that part because it mentally destroyed my cousin, and knowing how vicious that woman was towards a lot of people, it's one
Mm-hmm.
of those things to where you, you almost accept the frailties that your grandfather had about cheating on his wife when he's sitting there going, well, she's kind of a bitch. So I mean, maybe he kind of understood why he had to go do it. Maybe
Well,
he felt better about it. I don't know. Not that it's right, but I'm just saying you get that. But
well, to
anyway,
end it on a positive
interesting
note,
interesting show today. We talked.
the red pill guys are stupid.
Yeah, 100% agree. 100% agree. By the way, go check us out, folks. On our like Presley said, go follow us on Facebook. Go like every episode. Comment if you can. There's an algorithm that goes with that helps spread the show out to other people who can see it. Also, subscribe to us on YouTube. Best way to find us: the Daily Grind, and enter my name Trey. You'll see our picture. Click on the link. Click on the channel. Subscribe. Comment on the show if you'd like. We would appreciate it. Anything, we'll take any and all comments you want to talk about it. It's fine. Cool with that. We want to talk great about it. Talk. You know what? Presley is a superstar of this show because Wiley is really quick to point out how great she is, but never says anything good about me. So definitely, she's the star of this show. So I mean, clearly she's his favorite. So
Okay.
anyway, also follow us on Instagram. Now, understand there's a way to do this, folks. So I'm going to talk to you like Mr. Rogers, okay? The underscore daily underscore grind period underscore. There's a reason why we do this, folks. There's a reason why we do this, okay? We don't
Instagram
want
made
to
us
have to
work
do
for
this,
it.
but this is how it does because exactly, Instagram's a bitch. So anyway, that being said, also go check out Presley on her own little shows she does outside of this big ass show that we try to do every week or every day.
Mm-hmm.
That would be The Middle Ground with Presley Christine. Drops every Tuesday on YouTube and on Spotify. And go check out her latest episode. Do not be driving a motor vehicle while you're actually watching the show because you want to see the graphics that she throws out.
A lot of information.
Do not watch the show and drive at the same time. A lot of information. Also, Fit Trends with Presley Christine and Karen Ashley. Go check that out whenever they have a new show on YouTube. Of course, tonight is the final episode of the Tailgate Talk with myself and Jason Collins as we talk about the end of the Dallas Cowboys season today. And we can wrap it up until next year until he starts to. By the way, did you hear that Jerry Jones
You
is
guys
going
are
to retain
keeping
Mike McCarthy?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
Good
keeping
luck with that.
McCarthy. Yeah. You know what? I'm fine with it because you change the coach, change the quarterback, the culture's still the same. So might as well keep the same coach, same quarterback, and just if you're not going to change the culture, then don't change your team up any. That's just how it is. Also, tonight, 9:00 on Facebook Live. Go check out Offshoot TV. Me and my crew are getting together. We're talking about a lot of different things involving professional wrestling because that's what we do. And of course, we'll have a lot of fun doing that. Go check out the Offshoots Network on YouTube and see as we post individual clips up there as well. Go check those out. And thank you all for those who are subscribing. We've grown up to 91 to 93 subscribers now, I believe, which is did not think we'd ever have one. So to have that many more,
Get us to to that magical 100.
Yes, get to the magical 100, then we can work to the magical 1,000. So we're building and building and building. So that being said, I think that's all she wrote for this show. We will see you all tomorrow, or we like to hear us tomorrow as we do Friday Fun starting tomorrow with pictures from what we like to do. Anyway, that's all I got to say about that. And it's a Forrest Gump moment. That's all I got to say about that. Anyway, that's going to do it for us. See y'all tomorrow.